Ad Hoc Query is a tool that enables you to access and report data from human resources. It involves choosing the selection and output fields. Ad Hoc Query is a tool that enables you to access and report data from human resources. It involves choosing the selection and output fields.
Ad Hoc Query offers the following features. You can access Ad Hoc Query from the following systems and HR tools.
Before users can start the InfoSet query using the delivered InfoSets, they must be assigned to the relevant user group in SAP Query. The following SAP Query user groups are used for individual application components. /SAP Query /H0 for compensation management. /SAP Query /H1 for benefits. /SAP Query /H2 for personnel administration. /SAP Query /H3 for personnel development. /SAP Query /H4 for recruitment. /SAP Query /H5 for training and event management.
The basic mode of operation of Ad Hoc Query consists of the following steps. Define one or more selection criteria and then start the selection. The result of this selection is a set of objects such as persons, applicants, business events, or positions. Output the data as required for the selected objects.
The Ad Hoc Query screen is divided into the following main areas. The field groups and fields on the current InfoSet are displayed on the left of the screen. This part of the screen is used to select the selection and output fields. The right side of the screen enables you to determine selection values and execute your selection. The lower part of the screen contains an output preview. When working with Ad Hoc Query, proceed as follows. Select the selection and output fields in the overview tree. Enter a value and choose a selection option if necessary. Execute the selection. The head list is determined by selecting objects that match the selection criteria. Format the output in the output preview. Access the output.
The InfoSets required for Ad Hoc Query are created and managed in SAP Query. When you create an info set, you select the logical database on which it is based and determine the info types that it includes. The info types are subsequently displayed in the info set as field groups. Once you have selected your info types, you determine the fields of each info type to be included in the field group. The following scenarios illustrate how the info set determines the objects that you can select with Ad Hoc Query. Info set based on PNP or PNPCE. The info set based on the logical databases PNP or PNPCE enables you to use Ad Hoc Query to select employees and then output data on them. You can include personnel planning info types in these info sets. Consequently, you can use them to output person-related personnel planning data on the persons selected. You can also use these info sets to report on payroll results. Info set based on PAP. The info set based on the logical database PAP enables you to use Ad Hoc Query to select applicants. Info set based on PCH. The info set based on the logical database PCH enables you to use Ad Hoc Query to select objects of one object type, such as business events, qualifications, or positions. When you create the info set, you determine the object type.
If the selection and output fields have values and texts, you can use the text, the value, or both in the following ways. You can choose the selection field in the selection column of the overview tree. The field is then copied to the list of selection criteria on the right of the screen. If you use more than one selection criterion, they are linked by the AND logic. For example, by using the city and age fields, you can select all persons who live in London and are 25 years old. If you select a field in the selection column, you can use it as a selection field. You can choose output fields in the overview tree. The fields are then copied to the output preview as columns. You can choose output fields either at the same time as you choose selection fields or afterwards. You can choose the output field from field groups as required. You can output field contents as values, value output, and sometimes as text, text output. For example, you could specify the form of address key as value 01, text, Mr. value 02, text, Miss. If in doubt, specify both. The text often conveys more meaning. If you are a power user, you may require only the values. The number of selection criteria and output fields that you have chosen is specified in the overview tree for each field group.
If object selection has been switched off and values and text exist for a field, you can select objects using values or text. For example, you can select personnel area Frankfurt instead of personnel area 1000. The absence of the hit list function and its output field indicates that object selection is switched off. You can treat the text fields in the following ways. Include user-specific settings for user text fields. Override settings for field selection. For the output, you can always use the value and the text when available. You can choose a selection or output field by using the following methods. Select using drag and drop user setting. Select using checkboxes user setting. Select using the context menu and choose between value, text or value, and text. To restrict selection, you enter values and, if necessary, select options for the selection criteria. You select the required selection option from Input Help. You can enter values directly or determine them using standard Input Help. Input Help enables you to select an input value or use multiple selections to enter any required number of single values or intervals. The values that you can enter depend on the type of selection field, such as numeric, alphanumeric, and date. You can also use patterns as values. For example, if you want to find all of the employees whose names begin with S, enter S** as your value.
The result of each selection is a set of objects, such as persons or business events, for which you can output data. You can also use the following editing options for each object set. Output the selected objects in a list. Sort the list. Remove specific objects from the list if you do not want to output data for those objects. Use push buttons to branch directly to the following data. HR master data for a set of persons. Applicant master data for a set of applicants. Detail maintenance for other sets of objects.
Ad hoc queries are often required to report an employee data from one or more organizational units. To do this, you can select persons using the organizational structure if the info sets are based on the logical database PNPCE. To display the organizational structure, use the Output Push button. You can select the organizational units you require from the overview tree that appears. When you confirm your selection, the persons who belong to the organizational units are selected immediately. These persons are written to Ad Hoc Query as a reporting set.
The reporting period enables you to determine the period from which objects are retrieved. The system searches for objects with valid info type records that meet the selection criterion in the period you specified. The reporting period also affects data output, persons, and data selection period. You can separate these time periods on the selection screen if required. You can create complex queries by adding additional reporting criteria. You can also run statistical reports, for example, the number of people who live in a city. The following examples show how to determine the reporting period. If you want to determine which employees belong to personnel area 1000 today, use today as your reporting period. Today is the system date. If you want to determine which employees belonged to personnel area 1000 in 1995, use other period to enter January 1, 1995 as the start date and December 31st, 1995 as the end date. If you want to determine which employees belong to personnel area 1000 in the current month, use current month. Hint: the system always selects all objects for which a valid record exists at any point within the reporting period. For example, if you report on an entire year, the system selects employees who belonged to the organizational unit 1000 for at least one day during that year.
The time constraint of an info type affects the contents of the output list. When you make a selection, the system determines whether there are any objects that meet the selection criterion during the reporting period. Info type time constraints include the following reporting results. Time constraint 1. One row is output per object because the system always contains just one valid info type record. For example, info type 0002 personal data. Time constraint 2. One row is output per object because the system can only contain one valid info type record. For example, info type 0050 time recording info. Time constraint 3. The system can contain several valid info type records at the same time. For this reason, the number of valid records determine the number of rows that are output for each object. For example, info type 0023 other/previous employers. Subtypes with different time constraints. If an info type has subtypes, the time constraints for the subtypes can determine that different number of records exist for each subtype. For this reason, the number of records that exist determines the number of rows that are output for each object. For example, you select all the employees who live in New York. Your selection lists all of the persons who reside in New York. If you then include the temporary residence for employees, a row is output for each valid temporary residence. For example, the permanent residents of New York, subtype with time constraint 1, and the temporary residences of London, Berlin, and Waldorf, subtype with time constraint 3.
When you create queries, you can switch between query areas, user groups, and info sets. If you're assigned to a user group, you can save queries. The query is automatically available to all users who belong to the same user group. If you often perform reporting using the same selection criteria but different values, you're advised to save queries without specifying values. Do not enter data in the value and option fields before saving. If you often perform reporting using the same selection criteria and the same values, you're advised to save queries with values. You can access saved queries from the following sources. Ad Hoc Query. If you access saved queries from Ad Hoc Query, you can execute, change, or save them in their changed form or with a new name. SAP Query. SAP Query enables you to continue editing saved queries. You're advised to continue editing in SAP Query if you want to use particular output functions in SAP Query, such as summation levels or colors in the output list. Menus. You can access saved queries from role menus assigned to users.
The Ad Hoc Query screen provides the SAP list viewer that helps you to create the required reports. The lower part of the Ad Hoc Query screen contains a preview of output in the SAP list viewer. It enables you to use sample data to gain an impression of the appearance of the output list. The refresh function enables you to replace the sample data with the real data. The data is output to the SAP list viewer on the Ad Hoc Query screen. This means that the definition and result of a query are both included in a single screen. The output preview displays the layout of the output list before data is finally output. It also enables you to format the output list. You can perform the following tasks once the output list is formatted. Sort the list by one or more columns, calculate totals for numeric columns in basic lists, and calculate subtotals by using specific criteria, non-numeric columns. Delete all output fields at once. Initialize formatting. Determine the position of the currency column in basic lists or hide it completely. The context menu for ranked lists and statistics enables you to determine whether additional columns such as mean value, share in percent, and total number are output.
You can select the type of output, which determines how data is displayed when output. You can choose from various types of list output and export functions. For example, you can output data for spreadsheets. In this case, a list is not output to the screen. Instead, the report is copied to a file that you can then edit by using a spreadsheet program.
You can use the following tab pages to specify various output and export settings. Output tab page. On the output tab page, you can select the type of output list, such as basic list, statistics, and ranked list, and the type of output, such as standard list, word processing, and spreadsheet. You can also determine whether the query is started through a selection screen. Ad hoc query uses the SAP list viewer as the standard type of output. Stats/ranked list tab page. On the stats/ranked list tab page, you can determine the reference currency that is used to translate currency fields and the reference unit that is used to translate units of measurement. You can also specify the number of lines included in a ranked list. Crystal Reports tab page. On the Crystal Reports tab page, you can determine how data is exported to Crystal Reports if Crystal Reports is started directly from InfoSet query. You can also create a Crystal report each time data is exported. Alternatively, you can export data to an existing Crystal report on your local PC. Default val/text tab page. On the default val/text tab page, you can determine whether the value or text is used when a field is selected by drag and drop or by checkbox. You can override these defaults by using the context menu to select a field.
Output lists are of the following types: basic list, statistics, ranked list.
The following table shows examples of the different types of output lists.
You often require reports for a specific set of objects, such as the employees assigned to an organizational unit or a group of persons who meet certain conditions. If you do not restrict the reporting set, selections are performed for all the objects of an object type that are stored in the system. You can include only the required set of objects in your reports by restricting the reporting set as appropriate. You can use one of the following restrictions for sets of persons: the current hit list that you obtained by making a specific selection, a set of persons that you selected by using the organizational structure, a set of persons that you selected in HIS or Manager's Desktop, a set of persons that you determined by using set operations.
The Set Operations tab page enables you to use hit lists from more than one selection to perform set operations. A set operation involves the following steps. Make a selection, copy the hit list to set A. Make a second selection, copy the second hit list to set B. You can then perform the following set operations. Create intersections, create unions, add sets, subtract sets. The resulting set can be used for the following purposes. For further set operations, as a precondition for further selections, as a hit list, and therefore as the basis for data output. Examples of how set operations can be used are as follows. You can make negative selections. For example, if you want to find employees for whom a specific info type record, such as temporary residence, does not exist, you need to perform set operations. You can make combinations of person sets that have been selected by using different selection criteria and for whom data must be output in a joint list.
You can use data from personnel planning as selection fields to define various reports. You can now use the info types of related objects as selection and output fields for persons and personnel planning objects. For example, to find persons with specific qualifications. The prerequisite for this is an existing info set based on logical database, PNP or PNPCE, that is, HR master data. In this example, it would also need the added object type qualification fulfills to give you the requisite data.
In earlier releases, you could only use Ad Hoc Query to select sets of persons. You could output any data from personnel administration for the selected persons, as well as data from info types of related personnel planning objects. You could not use personnel planning data to make selections. With the use of an info set specially created for selecting a specific object type, such as courses based on PCH, you can now select personnel planning objects and report on related objects.
Dashboards are used to present data in charts, graphs, and other visual devices, such as maps. This is known as visualization. The SAP BI dashboard application is called SAP Business Objects Dashboard Designer, previously known as Excelsius. Dashboards are designed to be interactive, allowing the user to change the emphasis of the display. For instance, a drop-down list could be included next to a chart of average age by personnel sub-area to allow the selection of a different personnel area. Dashboard Designer includes the facility to build what-if scenarios. What-if scenarios are based on additional ranges of data representing forecast or modeled data. Dashboards are part of the roadmap of HCM reporting and can be seen as content in Manager Self-Service. Web-based dashboards delivered using mobile applications can be created using SAP Business Objects Design Studio. These dashboards do not support what-if scenarios.
Reporting. Standard and ad hoc reports represent transactional level data and display data in rows in a table which can be sorted, filtered, counted, and summed. Standard reports are developed either using ABAP or were built using ad hoc queries. Users can create their own reports by using the ad hoc query tool to retrieve HCM data. Building such queries allows you to be very specific about the data you want to see. Dashboards are an example of visualizations. They are reports that do not show row-by-row data, just the key data plotted in charts and graphs. They typically contain sliders and controls to allow interaction. You can change the emphasis of the data, for instance, switching to show a different personnel area or cost center. Analytic reporting is all about numbers of people. Dashboards allow you to spot trends and to offer insights into the data. Some analytic reports are built into interfaces for managers. Cloud and on-premise offer standard reports. Dashboards are optional and will require licenses for BI. Analytics. Workforce Analytics is the cloud analytics solution. Manager Insight, Executive Analytics, and Advanced Analytics are the on-premise offerings. Analytics is optional and attracts a fee. Analytics offers a library of delivered metrics, industry benchmarks, and HR strategies. The metric catalog helps with consistency of reporting standards and allows benchmarking. The idea is to measure things that matter, for example, KPIs or key performance indicators aligned to strategic goals. The library supports the HR team who may not be analytically minded or have the skills to complete forecasting. Analytics will focus on different levels of data depending on who is using it. Executive Analytics focuses on higher level KPIs and HCM scenarios. The on-premise solutions include specific metrics for managers. These tools are optional and help to answer questions such as, are we building talent according to our strategy? Will we have the right resources to enter new markets or launch new products? Are we building skills to support our strategy? Do we have career paths that are strategic and make sense? Will we have resources available when we need them? Are we able to pay a competitive salary? Is our workforce located where our customers and business requirements are? Can we outsource certain functions? Planning tools include the following types: short-term planning, shift, roster, resources. Mid-term planning, headcount, budgets. Long-term planning, strategic workforce planning. SAP Business Objects Dashboard Designer, or SBODD, is part of the SAP BI suite and can be licensed as a standalone tool or as part of a BI bundle. Dashboard design tends to be the task of a reporting analyst who designs and publishes for the business. A dashboard can contain one or many charts, graphs, sliders, gauges, or graphics. These are known as components. The components are based on spreadsheet data held in Dashboard Designer. This data can be connected to live data sources in the background. For further information and full training, please refer to the BOX 310 Dashboard Designer course. Once designed, the dashboard needs to be previewed or published. By clicking a single toolbar button, your dashboard can be produced as an interactive Flash file like SWF. Other toolbar buttons will produce the Flash file and automatically embed that Flash file in a PowerPoint presentation slide, Microsoft Word document, Outlook email message, or an Adobe PDF document. Another toolbar button creates the Flash file as well as an HTML document and folder structure that will display your Flash file in a web browser. SAP Business Objects Dashboard Designer, or SBODD, is used to produce a screen, that is, canvas, comprised of one or more components. A standard toolbox of components is provided as part of Dashboard Designer. The types of components include the following: charts, used for plotting the data; containers, tabs, and boxes for organizing the components; selectors. Selectors include list boxes, buttons, and drop-down lists. Selectors allow you to interact with and change the data that is displayed. Single values. Single values are sliders and dials used in what-if scenarios. For example, what if we used a different set of data with higher or lower values? Maps and backgrounds, used for design and emphasis. Text, used for labeling and clarity.